so you can see oh, what's going on. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. Ooh, ooh. We have one more.
Introduced because I get so nervous, and when I get nervous, I revert back to my childhood, and I might start. Y'all dead wrong. I want to bring up one of the representatives for One Nation Promotions, and she will be introducing our main speaker for tonight, Sister Naira Muhammad. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Wow. Let's give it up for One Nation Promotion. We're very happy to be here tonight to present this, and I also would like to give a personal thanks to Darius Muhammad, the founder of One Nation Promotion, and the co-founder, Brother Demetrius Muhammad, for bringing this level of consciousness to our city. And now we are at that moment. I will do the introduction of Dr. Umar Johnson. He is an educator, a psychologist, political scientist, Pan-Africanist, a blood relative of Frederick Douglass. Dr. Johnson worked with the at-risk, violent, suicidal, and depressed African-American boys and girls, and has spoken widely on and related subjects throughout some of the nation's largest public school systems, on talk shows, embassies, universities, correctional facilities, and conferences, nationally and internationally. Dr. Johnson's lecture, Escaping the Trap, will focus on prevention and changing the direction of troubled youths caught up in behaviors and activities such as drugs, crimes, pregnancy, imprisonment, and that which blocks their paths from life and success. Also, Dr. Johnson is also famously known for the series of Hidden Colors. At this time, I will now bring on to present Dr. Umar Johnson, Dundule.
Black family, thanks for coming out. It's good to be here. St. Petersburg! What's up, family? All right. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming out. It's an honor. It's an honor. My first timers are always some of my most memorable. I remember the first time that I went to Chicago, and I remember the first time that I went to Los Angeles. I remember the first time in Brooklyn, in Jamaica, in Toronto, in Detroit. And there's always something special when you meet a group of Africans you've never known before, and you form those bonds that will last a lifetime. So I say all that to say that although this is my first time to St. Petersburg, I'm sure it won't be my last. I want to start by talking about the children. For those of y'all who don't know me, I'm a school psychologist. I'm also a doctor of clinical psychology. And in my daily work, I evaluate children. I decide who goes into special education. I decide who's learning disabled, who's autistic, who's intellectually disabled, who's emotionally disturbed, who's mentally gifted, who needs special education for so-called ADHD and so-called conduct disorder and so-called oppositional defiant disorder. Well, in order for you to understand special education, you have to understand the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision of 1954. In 1954, the United States Supreme Court said, you can no longer use race as a factor in educational decision making. That was in 54. 10 years later, 64. And most school districts in America were still largely segregated by race. Despite the promises and demands of the Civil Rights Bill, black children in America were still largely segregated and kept away from white students. 10 more years come, 1974. 20 years after the landmark decision, and black children were still kept from the right to learn in an integrated school. So the busing movement was begun. And so in certain cities across America, they would bus black kids into white schools, and in places like Boston, Massachusetts, white people stood up and fought against the forced busing of black children to white schools. They turned over buses, they bombed them, they beat up black children. So America said, this don't look good. They didn't care about black children, but they didn't like the image of the so-called leader of the free world looking like a hypocrite. So they said, we gotta find a way to get these schools to take these black children because it's affecting our international campaign in other countries. I mean, how do we play the good guy in other places in the world where we're playing the bad guy at home? So one of the psychologists in Chicago stood up and he said, I think I have an idea. What if we told these white school districts in St. Petersburg, Florida, and in Tampa, and in Orlando, we're going to let you resegregate the black kids away from the white kids. Only this time, don't say you're doing it because they are black. Say you are doing it because he's retarded. Say because you're doing it because he has ADHD. Say you're going to take the black girl and put her in a segregated class, not because she's black, but say she has a reading disability. And so in 1975, when special education was created, it gave school districts the right to resegregate the black child away from the European child with the excuse of the inability to learn. And what I need you parents to understand is that you participate in the school to prison pipeline operation. You participate in it because I cannot evaluate your child without your permission. You participate in it because your signature is necessary in order for Dr. Umar Johnson to conduct any testing. So don't tell me that the St. Petersburg schools put your child in special ed. Stop telling me what they did and start telling me what you did. Because they cannot, you cannot test them, you cannot place them, you cannot special educate them unless the parent signs their name. You get the whole show started. There's 2 million black people in jail. There's 2 million black children in special education. And you know what's so sad? Is that half the kids in St. Petersburg and half the black boys and girls in Tampa in special ed don't even need to be in there. In fact, special ed is a trash can where you throw the black boys you don't want to be bothered with into until they're old enough to go to jail, drop out, or get killed. Special education is a human trash can. Oh yes. But still further, most of the diagnoses we give, that reading disability, which is the #1 most diagnosed disability in special ed, the reading disability, are you aware St. Petersburg can't even be proven to exist? The reading disability is a professional opinion. That's it. The math disability is a professional opinion. That's it. ADHD is nothing more than the white psychologist's opinion about your black child. There's no blood test for a learning disability. There's no CAT scan for ADHD. There's no MRI for an emotional disturbance. There's no urine sample for mental retardation. There is no x-ray that you can give to prove 100% that your child has this disability. It is nothing more than the intellectual conclusion that the white folks came up with in St. Petersburg schools about your child. And then you bought into it. And you took that label home and you told Raheem that he has a reading disability. So yesterday, Raheem was trying his best to improve. He was working. But the next day, Mommy came home and said, "You're reading disabled." So guess what happened to Raheem's motivation? Yesterday, little Tiffany was trying to improve math. The next day, her father came home and said, "You have a math disability." And guess what happened? The worst side effect of special education is that you take the opinions of white folk, give them to black children, and it now becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in their life. On disorders that you can't even prove. In fact, most of our children don't have a specific learning disability. They have what I refer to as a sloppy and lazy as hell Negro child disease. Oh yes. It's not that Randy can't learn how to read. Randy could care less about learning how to read. Randy is going to the NFL. Randy is going to be a rapper. Randy is going to the NBA. It's not that he can't learn how to decode words. It's not that he can't become fluent in reading. It's not that he can't comprehend information. He got better things to do. And the same thing with your daughter. And there's nothing more trifling than a black parent who puts a black child in special ed when you know the problem is laziness. But apples don't fall far from the trees from which they sprout. Which is why I often say when we talk about academic failure, don't show me the child who's failing school, show me the parent who's failing the child. Because I know that children don't drop out of school until mom and dad drops out of their lives. Don't talk about high school dropout in Florida. Talk about high school push out in Florida. The learning disability. The failure on part of a child with normal intelligence to learn a scholastic skill. The failure on part of a child with normal intelligence to learn a scholastic skill. The failure on part of a child with normal intelligence to learn a scholastic skill. Let me ask you a question, Florida. If your child has normal intelligence, how is it possible he can't learn how to read? If your child has normal intelligence, how is it possible your daughter cannot learn how to count? Is it the child with the learning disability or the teacher with the instructional disability? Is it the child with the learning disability or the principal with the pedagogical disability? Is it the child with the learning disability or the whole damn school district with an educational disability? And let me be clear about this black boy problem. Black boys need their own school. Black boys need a special curriculum. Black boys got to be able to stand up while they learn. Black boys got to be able to do this and do that. The problem is not the black boy. He don't need no radically special program. The problem is how black boys are treated. That's what makes the experience good. Don't work on the black boy, work on the teacher teaching the black boy. But when 93% of the teachers are white females in a racially privileged society, you can never hold the white females responsible for the miseducation of the black child, because America is based on the principle of black domination in the service of white success. Everybody knows how to fix this problem. It's not hard to fix the schools. It's easy. But public education was never designed to properly educate black children. Why? If you properly educate a black boy, you put white power at risk. If you properly educate a black boy, you upset the American social order. If you properly educate a black boy, you put him in a position to rival the white boy for political economic domination of American society. Education, effectively done, is a revolutionary undertaking. That's why the schools must fail. They will always fail. They will continue to fail. Because as long as America operates on white over black, in order for white privilege to stay in place, the black boys must prefer basketball to science. In order for white supremacy to stay in place, black boys must prefer football to mathematics. In order for white supremacy to stay in place, the black girl must prefer twerking to arithmetic. This is how it's designed. See, the purpose of public school is to do what? Teach the children of the oppressed their place in society. The purpose of education is to teach the children of the oppressed their place in society. And the reason why black boys are taught by white women, because it is her job to break his spirit, to snatch his masculinity, to effeminize his masculine disposition. Public school is no accident. This is intentional. And I need you parents to understand that you have certain rights that you should never vacate. You have the right to say no, first of all. Can we evaluate Raheem? He has a reading problem. He's in the 6th grade, but he's only reading on the 3rd grade level. We think he may have a reading disability. You have a right to say no. Can we evaluate your son? Hell no. Why? Let me tell you why you cannot evaluate my son. Yes, I'm aware he struggled. I'm also aware that he's a 6th grader operating on the 3rd grade level. But let me make you aware as to why he's 3 grades behind. Last year when my son was in 5th grade, he was suspended 5 days every month. he lost about 2 months of instruction. So that's why he didn't catch up last year, because you never left him in the classroom long enough to learn. When my son was in the 4th grade, he had a first-year teacher, straight out of the University of Florida, a little white girl from the boondocks could barely read her damn self. Nobody learned anything. The year before that, my son was in the 3rd grade. He had a pretty good teacher, but she got pregnant, went out on maternity leave in January, and my son was faced with 15 substitutes from January to June. So don't ask me why you cannot put him in special education. My son's problem is you. And you parents have to be very firm in protecting your children, because the first thing a school does, and you're talking to a school principal, the first thing a school does is do an evaluation of black parents to determine which ones you can get over on and which ones you cannot. And if you are an easy black parent, your children will suffer. In fact, every school has what I call a blacklist. It's a short list of black parents you cannot F with, because they will come to that school 50 deep, raise pain, and cause hell. And if you are not on that blacklist, mother, father, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, big brother, big sister, cousin, foster parent, or adopted parent, if you are not on that list, you are not on your job. And why do you say that, Dr. Johnson? I say that because having a lazy black parent is like having no damn parent at all. Oh yes, we can talk about white supremacy, but what about trifling black people? We can talk about racism all day, but what about you not being on your job? Do you check homework every night? Do you do drive-bys after school? What is a drive-by? That's when you pop the hell up and make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do. When the last time you did a drive-by? If I went in your house right now, Tampa, if I went in your house right now, St. Petersburg, if I drove on over to Orlando and walked into your home, would I see a bookshelf? Would I see a dictionary? Is there a thesaurus? What about a set of encyclopedia? I know you got the HD TV, you got the Xbox, you got the iPad, you got the laptop, you got the cell phone, but do you have any damn books in your house? In fact, is there even a table and chairs anywhere in that damn home for that child to sit down for 10 minutes and get their work done without any interruptions from the radio, television, or your telephone conversations? Oh yes, I could walk into your house and tell you whether or not you're a part of the school to prison pipeline right now. In Christmas gifts, one of the reasons I can't stand Christmas time ain't got nothing to do with Christ, not the black one, but maybe the white one, but one of the reasons why I have such an issue with Christmas is most of you buy gifts for your children that distract them from focusing on their academics. Remember, when we were growing up, and I'm 40 years old, when we were growing up, there was no iPad. There was no Xbox. Video games just started. I had the little Miss Pac-Man, you know, the one that weighed 30 pounds and you had to carry it. So when we wanted to have fun, if we wasn't allowed to watch TV, and back then we didn't have our own TV in our own room, we would take our books. We had fun with our books. Me and my homies, we would read to each other. We loved literacy. We would go to the library and stay there till they put us out at Temple University in North Philadelphia. We had no choice but to learn if we wanted to entertain ourselves. Literature was the way. But look at us today. Literature is not the way. How many hours does your son spend on video games? 5 hours a day? That could have been 5 hours on reading. How many hours does your daughter spend? Can your child self-regulate behavior and delay gratification? Because guess what, parents? If you haven't taught your child that you have to learn how to do what you don't want to do in order to be in a position to do the things you like to do, if you're raising a failing-ass child. That's the reality of the situation. And my single mothers, I love you to death. And I apologize for the fact that due to the consequences of the war against black men, you have been left at home most of the time by yourself to raise all those children. And I commend you for the job that you've done, because if it had not been for you holding that family together, who the hell knows what situation we would be in now. So brothers, give a hand for all the single mothers and black women in general in here for doing the job. But there's some of you who need to do a little bit better. Some of you women are raising your sons to be the exact type of man you yourself would never want to be bothered with. Oh yes, you say you want a responsible man, but your son is irresponsible as hell. You say you want a man who could go out and make a way if there is no way, but your son is soft as pudding with no fight in his blood whatsoever. You say you want a man who can respect black women, but yet you don't even make your son respect his own mother or sisters. How dare you say you can't find a good man when you're not making a good man? And fathers, you need to get your act together and realize that your daughters need quality time, not money and birthday gifts. And you need to understand that teenage pregnancy has nothing to do with her mother, and teenage pregnancy has nothing to do with sex. Teenage pregnancy is about a thirsty little girl still wanting the attention of her father, not getting it, and because he's not available, she goes out in the local community and finds a surrogate. Any boy will do. So the next time your daughter gets pregnant, don't go looking for the man who impregnated your daughter. Look at yourself, because you're the reason her thirsty ass went out there hunting in the first place. It comes back to that. It comes back to that. So parents, learn how to say no to special education. Special education is not a program to help children. Special education is a hustle. Special education is a racket. Special education is a business. I don't know if you guys know this, but whenever I qualify a child for special education, the school gets paid. Every single child. Oh yes. So, for example, let's say in St. Petersburg, the average child gets $7,000 spent on their education. $7,000 per child. That's the per pupil expenditure. Once I qualify that kid as retarded or LD or autistic or speech and language or deaf or blind or traumatic brain injury or orthopedic impairment or other health impairment for such things as ADHD, the minute I say they are disabled, their name goes into a computer. It gets transferred to the State Department of Education in Florida, and by the end of the month, an electronic transfer of funds is sent from the state to the district. It's called a welfare check for miseducating black children. And if you want to know why they don't like to take black kids out of special ed, that's exactly why. Because it's not financially in their best interests. So let me ask you this then. If a black special ed kid in St. Petersburg is worth an extra $7,000 for 1 year, if you put him in special ed in the second grade, he got 10 more years. 10 years times 7,000 is $70,000 for one kid. What about 100? What about 1,000? Exactly how much money is St. Petersburg Public School District making off of black kids in the name of special education? You parents need to also know that you can take your kid out of special ed whenever you feel like it. All you have to do is call an IEP meeting. IEP teams determine program, placement, and progress. So if you don't agree that the special ed classroom is not benefiting your child, you call an IEP meeting and you tell them, I want to change my daughter's placement. She no longer needs this class because she's not learning anything in here. All all they do is fill out photocopies and watch Sesame Street in the 8th damn grade. I've had enough. Take her out. They give you a piece of paper, you sign, she goes back to the regular class. Now the school district does have the option of challenging your decision, and they can take you to due process with the state where they complain that this kid really does need special ed and we don't agree with the parent, at which time the state will decide whether they agree that the child should leave special ed or not. However, 95% of the time when you want to exit your child, they will exit the child. But some of you like special ed. You know why? Because it is a world of low expectations. Once your child goes into special ed, they are no longer expected to do as well as everyone else. And you also love special ed because of the social promotion privilege. When children go to special ed, they are automatically promoted to the grade that is commensurate with their age. So, let's say I test a 13-year-old. He failed 3 times. He's in the 6th grade. He should be in the 9th. The minute Dr. Johnson qualifies that kid with a reading disability, guess what? Tomorrow he will be sitting in a 9th grade class and still can't read. He'll be graduating in 4 years and still can't read because special education allows you to socially promote kids who haven't learned a damn thing. And what you parents also need to understand is that if you don't agree with the evaluation that the school district has conducted on your child, you have a right to an independent educational evaluation. I hope you are listening to me, because some of you think that when the school tests your child and say that he's autistic or retarded or emotionally disturbed or reading disabled, that there's nothing you can do. That is incorrect. Federal law gives you the right to disagree with the conclusion of the evaluation, and you have a right to request an independent evaluation where you find your own Florida state-certified school psychologist to evaluate your child, and the school district must pay the bill. That is the law. That is the law. And guess what? If your child was in special ed for a couple of years and your child has not learned anything all those years in special education, you can make St. Petersburg schools pay for your child to go to a private school. Federal law says that if the parent can prove that the school district cannot meet the needs of their special education child, that school district must pay. That school district must pay. That school district must pay for that child to go to an approved private school. And then there's something known as compensatory education. Compensatory education says, if your child was diagnosed as retarded in the 2nd grade, and you found out in the 8th grade that it was a misdiagnosis, the school district now owes you compensatory ed for the 6 years your child was in special ed. So they have to financially and mathematically add up 180 school days a year times 6 years that your kid sat in a special ed class and should have never been there. And that money goes into an account, and you now can pay for tutoring, special programs, and therapy to help reverse the effects of special ed that your child never needed in the first place. It also works in the other direction. They told you that your child did not qualify for speech and language. You found out 5 years later they truly did have a speech and language impairment. Well, guess what? They owe you comp ed for all the years your child should have been in special ed and was denied the service. 180 days times how many years that money goes into an account, and you can spend that money on services relevant to the child's disability. But you need to know that there's a statute of limitations on educational claims, and that's only 2 years. Before it was unlimited. But black parents have been waking up all across the country and fighting for their child's rights, and as a result of that, the feds created a 2-year statute of limitations. But there's something else your parents need to know. If your child is in special ed and it's time to graduate and they're not ready to graduate, give the diploma back and let the school know you're not done. Because under special ed law, a child with a disability can be educated to age 21 years old. 21 years old or high school graduation, whichever comes first. I had a situation in Lower Marion School District, Kobe Bryant's high school. Latino mother, Dr. Johnson. My son graduates next week. I just found out he can't read. What should I do? How old is he? 17. Give the diploma back. Well, what do you mean? I mean that special ed goes up to age 21. So if Lower Marion High School did not properly educate your child, let them know that you don't agree with him being graduated at this time, and you are opting to extend his services until age 21. Well, my son is not going to go back to high school after all his friends have graduated. He doesn't have to. Lower Marion High School is going to hire a tutor that's going to come out to your home or meet your son at the local library. And every day for 5 days a week until he is academically competent, they will tutor that boy until he's ready to graduate, until you're ready to have him graduate. It's never over. But what some of you parents want to do, because you like keeping up with the Joneses and you care more about how you look than how your child is doing, you'll let that kid graduate, knowing damn well he can't read or count, only to be introduced into a life of crime on the streets of St. Petersburg. These are the facts of the situation. And then we got to talk about this ADHD nonsense. Good God Almighty. I'm willing to bet that at least 25% of you got kids on Ritalin, or Adderall, or Concerta, or Metadate, or Vyvanse, or Prozac, or Paxil, or Risperdal, or Depakote in the name of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. $30 billion a year is what Wall Street makes off of Negro parents putting their kids on crack for babies. Let's look at this thing called ADHD. First of all, it started as ADD. In 1980, attention deficit disorder was added to the DSM-2 or 3. Was that a coincidence that they put ADD in the diagnostic manual in 1980? Hell no. That was on purpose, because what was going on in America in 1980? The CIA just dropped off crack cocaine in the ghettos. And they started mass incarcerating black men for selling the CIA's dope. And so the men were going to jail with the black boys still at home, no daddy and only a mother. And because fathers are usually the disciplinarians in the home, without the daddy being there, the boy got a little bit more free with himself. And instead of just blaming this on what it naturally was, the removal of the father from the home, they blamed it on your son's brain. And they came up with this condition called ADD. And then they came out with the drug for ADD, methylphenidate. And then 7 years later, 1987, they added an H to ADHD, an H to ADD, making it attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Why did they add the H? Why did ADD have to become ADHD? Because there's no drug that can make your child pay attention. So they were losing money on the stock market with ADD because there wasn't enough prescriptions being written. So 7 years later, the drug companies forced the Psychiatric Association to put an H to justify medication of all black boys. Oh yes. And have you looked at the criteria for ADHD? And if you don't own a DSM-5, you need to go out to Barnes & Noble or get online to Amazon and buy one. Unfortunately, our black bookstores don't carry the DSM-5, but they need to start, because if you're raising black children in racist America, you need to know the diagnostic criteria. So when white folks come to you talking about, I think my son got ADHD, you can pull your own damn book out, read it in front of him and say, he's okay. But look at this now. Failure to pay attention. Loses things necessary to get his work done. Acts like he's driven by a motor. Taps with his hands or feet. Is unable to play quietly. What child do you know? Black or white, rich or poor, plays quietly, blurts out answers, talks out of turn. And this is what ADHD is. This is actually the criteria. Do you know what I just described to you? A normal black boy. But guess what? Schools are operated largely by women. Mostly white women and some Negro females. They run the school system. Oh yes. And guess what? Being a normal black boy does not fit within the culture of a female-dominated institution. So when your son goes to school, he's expected to act like a girl, and if he can't, he's considered to be diseased. So when they fly Dr. Umar around the country and ask him to help them solve their Negro boy issue, my #1 recommendation is what? Give every black boy in St. Petersburg a black male teacher. You will cut special ed, you will cut drop out, you will raise test scores. Give them a strong, let me qualify. He needs a strong black male teacher. Because let me tell you what they're going to do. I've recommended that certain school districts go out and get some black male teachers, and they do that. And then they call me back and say, Dr. Johnson, we've listened to you when you come in for professional development. At the beginning of the year, you will be introduced into our new 12 young black male teachers. And I go into the auditorium and get ready for my training. And I walk up to these brothers. One of them got on skinny jeans, skinnier than skinny. One of them got eyelashes longer than Beyonce. Another one got on a halter top. What the hell is this? So I want to underline strong black male teacher. And why is that? Because black boys don't just need men, they need father figures. And if you put a man in front of that boy will break his back to meet the approval of the male, because a boy needs a man like a flower needs sunshine. Give him a black man. They're not going to do that. Because they got to keep the society functioning the way that it is. And why are they building all these prisons with your tax dollars? Let me tell you why they sending black boys to jail instead of to college, and that's because you, black folks, are no longer necessary in order for the American economic order to function. You were brought to America to serve. And guess what? You have served your purpose. Oh yes, they got enough Chinese in the country now. They have enough Latinos in the country now, most of whom are African too, but don't want to admit it. I had a Negro the other day, Latino Negro in Philly, told me he was not black, with a damn afro like Jimi Hendrix. But they don't need you no more. So what do you do with 40 million Africans who you cannot send back to Africa because you psychologically destroyed their connection to their mother continent? Do you realize you're the only non-white people in the country who cannot be deported? People say, well, why the hell don't the Chinese come over here? I thought America don't like China. That's a diplomatic strategy. But if the Chinese get out of hand, they got a home that they can go back to. Ain't no home. If the Mexicans get out of hand, you don't identify with Zimbabwe, you don't identify with Ghana, Nigeria, Lesotho, no damn way. You identify with the west side of St. Petersburg. Where the hell are they gonna send you? You a west side rider. Can't send them no damn way. So if you want to get rid of black folks who are internationally homeless, you must create a program of extermination. Abortion is a part of that. Do you realize we've murdered more black children through abortion than we have on the corner? Yes. Abortion is the #1 killer, not boys in the hood. And I'm not judging no sister here at all. I'm looking at abortion from the political stance, not the moral stance. AIDS is a part of that. Now, when they first found AIDS, and I want to put quotation marks around found, because whenever the white men say found, that means created. They told us that it was a disease for gay white males. If you're not gay and white, you need not worry. That's what the rallying cry was in 1982. So how does a disease for gay white males become the leading killer of middle-aged heterosexual black females? Because AIDS was designed for you by the United States Army Biological Weapons Lab in Fort Detrick, Maryland. It is still there today. That's where they made AIDS, Ebola, West Nile, bird flu, swine flu, and the new Shanika disease they call Zika. And some of you are crazy enough to be taking your child to the doctor to be getting immunizations for these diseases. You are out of your mind to be taking a black child to a white doctor to get some chemical protections. The hell you been smoking? You don't put that stuff on your child's arm. Well, if they don't get their shots, they don't go to school. Says who? There's only 3 states in this country that demand immunization except for religious exemption. That is West Virginia, Mississippi, and California. This is Florida, which means what? That in addition to the religious exemption, your state either has 1 or 2 of the other exemptions. That is a medical exemption or a personal family belief exemption. And you need to find out what other exemption you have the right to and you use it. There's 18 states that allow for personal family belief. All you have to do is get a notarized letter saying that me and the father or mother object to the immunization of our child on political grounds. We don't agree with this. You get it notarized, give it to the school secretary, and the child goes to class. It's that simple. But the problem with y'all is y'all want to go ask white people, may I? If you want to do the may I thing, you damn right they're going to say, yes, you must. Y'all go up there, Dr. Umar was here Saturday. He said, Shaquita don't need no shots, is that true? No, you got to go up there like you know your rights. My child will not be immunized. They are not required. The state of Florida allows for personal family belief exemption, and here it is. If you refuse to enroll my child, please put that in writing and I will take it down to the superintendent. And I want y'all to remember that. Whenever somebody in the school system tells you something that sounds like it's a lie, tell them to put it on paper. Your child cannot come back to the school unless he gets some type of psychiatric medicine. The boy can't sit still until you bring me a prescription. He is not allowed back to my school. Can you please write what you just said and sign that, please? And I'll be on my way. What you just said, my brother, you said it so well. Can you put it on paper and sign it? That's all you got to do. But see, the problem with y'all in the schools is you like to deal with the schools on a goodness of faith level. In other words, y'all talk too much. Well, she said, let me tell you something about educators. We have something known as academic amnesia. You know what academic amnesia is? That means that principal will act like they never said it. that teacher will act like she never even heard you say that. So the way you hold them to the word is after every meeting you have, after every phone conversation. May I have your email address, please? And you send a summary. Based on our conversation today, you promised me that before you consider my son for suspension ever again, you will have a conference between him and his teacher to review the situation, and then you will call and chat with me before the final decision to suspend has taken place. If this is in any way incorrect about what the hell you just said, please respond. Every time you go to a school meeting, have a notebook, $1.09 from the dollar store, and you pull it out. And every time white folks start talking, you write. I don't give a damn if you're just scribbling, right? Because let me tell you what's going to happen. When you decide to take them to due process, and they decide to take you to due process, guess what? They're going to show up in the meeting with 10 boxes of paperwork. You're going to say, damn, they got all that on my son, he don't need it. And guess what? All 10 boxes is lies! But because it's on paper, the hearing officer will believe them. Now you walk in with your Louis bag and heels, and the hearing officer start asking you questions, and you start pulling it off of your memory, but you don't have nothing on paper, and the school district got 10 boxes of lies. Guess who wins? Because they look like they were keeping documentation. And let me tell you how schools operate, because I work for them. Guess what they did? The night before the hearing, they start photocopying all kinds of stuff just to look like they was prepared. Because they know the hearing officer ain't going to take time and go through all those boxes. So they just made it look like that. Why? Because it could cost them millions of dollars if you can prove that they have been educating your child, and now you can send your kids to one of those $30,000 a year schools. Schools don't want to pay no extra money out for you, so they do anything they can, include forge your name on papers. I've seen lawyers tell special ed consultants to forge parent names. If it's going to save us a couple million, you forge it. Shit, do graffiti, but you forge it. And you look at the paper and you say to yourself, I don't remember signing that, but that's my damn name. Guess what? You didn't sign it. But because you didn't listen to Dr. Umar and keep good notes and records, you can't prove that you didn't sign it. No, they know black parents don't keep no damn records. Even when y'all call me up, Dr. Johnson, I need some help. Okay. What grade your son in? My son is in 10th grade. When did he go to special ed? Kindergarten. Well, you trifling as hell. But anyway, well, why do I say that? Why do I say you trifling if you got a 5, 6, 7-year-old in special ed? Unless they're blind, deaf, seriously intellectually handicapped, moderate to severe autism, orthopedic impairment, traumatic brain injury, speech and language. But if you got a 5, 6, 7-year-old in special ed for ADHD, learning disabilities, emotional disturbances, and mild mental retardation, you trifling. And the reason I say that is too damn young. That is too young to be determining a kid can't read. My son in the 1st grade with a reading disability. His ass only been reading for 6 months. How the hell he got a reading disability? He just got there. You that damn thirsty for SSI check you couldn't wait? Damn, you thirsty. Yeah, here's some water, you thirsty. Yeah. Thirsty ass parents trying to get the SSI check. Thirsty. I remember I was at this African Senate charter school in Philly, right? There was 3 brothers in special ed. 3 brothers, they were not twins. All diagnosed as retarded. So I'm looking at this, I said, this don't look right. So it's time for them to get reevaluated, because in special ed, you gotta get reevaluated every 3 years or every 2 years, depending on the state, right? Make sure you gotta keep that in mind. So I'm testing this boy. And I'm noticing he getting questions wrong that I know he knows. I said, this is some shit. So after I tested him, the brother came in doing the same little scam. I said, what's wrong with these three hustlers? I goes downstairs and talk to the principal and the special. I said, hey, them kids is getting questions wrong on purpose. That's what they told me. We know. I said, well, what the hell? They said, listen, their parents get 3 checks for retarded kids. And you know, retarded kids get the most they want. And that's when they told me that they send their sons to school on test day, having prepped them to deliberately do poorly on the IQ test so they can keep on qualifying for that $750 a month. Hurt my heart. But it hurt me even more that the so-called Afrocentric school didn't want to report them trifling ass parents. Because I don't believe in reporting black parents to Child Protective Service. But when you got something going on trifling like that, expose their ass. I caught a white man on you in a minute, I catch you doing some trifling stuff like that. We so damn crazy for money, it's crazy. See, black folks ain't used to having money, so we spend our whole life trying to find something. And then when we finally get economically comfortable, we realize we waste our whole damn life for money, and it wasn't even worth it no matter how much you make. Do you realize I did my doctoral work at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine? And one of the things we had to do as graduate psychology students, we had to do therapy for the med students. So these white kids would come into my therapeutic lounge. One day I was going to flip one of the ass and say, Black Power! And they would come in there and I would have to therapeutize them. So they would come and I would say, yeah, Cracker, what's wrong? These med students, right? And guess what I'm finding out? The number one reason they came to me. I can't speak for the other psych students, but I can speak for me. Most of the med students were there because they really didn't really want to get a degree in medicine. I mean, about to graduate a couple weeks ago. Most prestigious job in America, $250,000 minimally a year. And they come into therapy crying. Because I really don't want to be about it. Why are you here? Because my mother expected me to do this. My grandfather was a surgeon. I thought that it would make me happy to be in such a prestigious career. I'm telling y'all the truth right now. Isn't that something to know that the person waiting on you at the doctor's office might not even want to be here? And what y'all need to understand coming from a psychologist is the 2 predictors of happiness. Neither one of which has anything to do with how much money you make. Happiness ain't got nothing to do with money. Look at all the crazy ass people in Hollywood. The more money you get, the crazier you get besides a certain point. Because everybody's trying to take it from you. So what are the 2 predictors of happiness? The first is, do you love what you do for a living? Did y'all hear that? Does your life have purpose? Not money, purpose. You were not born to get paid. You were born to fulfill a purpose. And to the extent your life has purpose, you will be happy. Some of us look at poor people every day who are just so full of life. They're like, damn, they get $100 a month to live on, happy as hell. Because they got purpose. And here you is, Mercedes-Benz, $250,000 house, Louis bag, boom, boom, and you just a nasty old heifer. Because your life ain't got no purpose. So the first first predictor of happiness is, do you love what you do for a living? Purpose. And the other is, do you love who you spend your life with? Companionship. Now, I don't want to go off too much into the relationship piece, but I'm going to touch it real hot for a second. Because I heard shit hot down here. Listen, I'm running into too many people who tell me they get married because they love the person. And I'm here to tell you right now that if your sole purpose for getting married is that you love the person, you made a decision based on emotion, and that's the worst way to make a decision. You ever see two people get into business together? They got a grocery store together. You say, hey brother, why are you going to business with her? I loved her. That's why the damn business ain't making no damn money, because you made the decision based on emotion. I didn't say love shouldn't play a role. There must be some sort of affective connection. But that can't be the only thing. Hell, I'd rather marry somebody who committed to me instead of loving, because you see what people do to each other when they love each other, the shit don't work out. That's love, I don't want that. Because most of what we call love ain't nothing more than an unwritten emotional contract. I'm going to treat you a certain way as long as you do what the hell I need you to do. But the minute your ass scratch my ego the wrong way, it's on. Stop laughing. See, that's you, that's why you tripping out. Get us some water! But my point is, we got to stop looking for other people to do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. And I'm tired of so many women and men talking about, I'm looking for someone to love me. I'm looking for somebody to make me happy. Well, guess what, sweetheart? You will never find anybody to make you happy, because happiness is an emotion and it can only come from the inside. And the problem is we got too many emotional vampires floating around St. Petersburg. What is an emotional vampire? A psychologically confused, unhappy, and damaged person. They are male and they are female. They're like vampires. They only come out at night. See, that's why it's dark in here and shit. We're like that! Vampires. And you start dating these people and they seem normal at first, don't they? Yeah. And then after a while you start noticing defects in the way that they look like they was happy, and now you come home one day, he talking to himself in the mirror, kicking and fighting and shit. You take your time when you're choosing your mate. Take your time. And ladies, I'll be doing my For Sisters Only Relationships and Dating Seminar in Houston. We got a For Sisters Only breakfast. I have to come back to St. Petersburg to do my For Sisters Only here. But I want to say, I'm going to give y'all this, and I'm going to move back home. Thirsty girls finish last.
That's right.
Thirsty girls finish last. Once you expose your level of desperation to a male, your value just got cut in half. Any woman who cannot stand to be alone sometime without a man will have a difficult time finding the right one. No daddy at home. And I say that why? 85% of black boys diagnosed with ADHD don't have a father figure in their life. This ain't got nothing to do with drugs. This ain't got nothing to do with psychiatry. This is about destabilizing a black family by removing the father, leaving the mother there to do a man's job. And because you don't want to give the boy his daddy back, you'd rather take them to the doctor for some dope. And let me be clear that the Drug Enforcement Agency of America classifies Ritalin, whose scientific name is methylphenidate, as a Schedule B drug, which means Ritalin is just as addictive and dangerous as cocaine and opium. If you don't believe me, go to the library on Monday and take out the Drug Enforcement Agency's classification of toxic substance, and you will see Ritalin in the same category with cocaine. And this is what you give your child. Do you realize these drugs kill brain cells? Do you realize these drugs can cause heart attack, stroke, diabetes, epilepsy, psychosis, suicidal thinking, homicidal behavior? In fact, I had a white psychologist, Jewish teacher, who told me that he believed that the rise of violence in the black community, at least 15% of it, could be attributed to the side effects of psychiatric meds given to black children. Listen, don't know drugs solve problems. It only makes worse of problems. I'm seeing kids in school talking to themselves now. We had a kid in high school urinated on himself because his brain didn't know his bladder was full, because the drug messed up the neurological communication system that lets the brain from the bladder know I got to go pee, urinated on himself. I've seen kids defecate on themselves. Kids don't need that stuff. Stop giving your kids drugs and stop letting the school tell you they need them. A teacher can't tell you your child needs drugs. She ain't no damn doctor. But because she's white, you think she got a right to say whatever she wants. Oh, he has ADHD. I know because my son has it too. You don't know shit because you ain't no psychologist. I'm serious. You got to tell him that, y'all. You got to tell him that. Now, for those of y'all who've been following my work, you know we've been working on raising money to build the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy. Had a Negro tweet me the other day. He said, listen, brother, I love you to death, but we got enough Afrocentric schools. You've raised $700,000 more than most other conscious community scholars. Why don't you just take that money and divide it up amongst the schools that are already out there? And I said, that's the most ridiculous thing that I've heard all day. You must be on Ritalin. Yes, we do have some excellent African-centered schools. The Marcus Garvey Academy in Los Angeles, I love what they do. I love the Ujamashule, Baba Zulu's institution in Washington, D.C., which happens to be our oldest continuously running independent African school in America. I speak at its anniversary every year. I love it. There's all types of African-centered schools doing a good job for our children, and I support them. But Dr. Umar Johnson isn't just trying to be another African-centered school. The Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy will be a game changer. We need a game changer. You see, some of y'all don't really know what the hell going on. Some of these Afrocentric schools is really Eurocentric with a dashiki and a drum. Okay? Playing Kuta Kente. Okay? Just because you drumming, don't mean you teaching. I've been to a lot of Afrocentric charter schools where the kids got the dashiki on. They speak in Swahili, incense is burning, greasy shea butter, vegan dishes, cocoa butter, goat milk, Zulu spear. And then I test the kid, his ass can't read. Somebody explain that to me. All this damn Afrocentricity and the damn boy can't even read. I know a hustle when I see one, and I know a calm game too. And just because you're using African culture to sell your school don't make it any better. And y'all parents got to get a little bit better at evaluating schools, because y'all see a school and it look Afrocentric, you assume they teach it. Or y'all see one of these white charter schools and it looks so pretty. You say, oh my God, this is such a beautiful school. They must do a good job teaching our kids. And you realize the quality of the education ain't nothing. I got to wake up and smell coffee. Well, what is going to make the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy so different? Well, first of all, our concept is based off revolutionary Pan-African nationalism. It will be a political school. And international economics. And then international economics. What do you mean by international economics, Dr. Johnson? I mean that we got to teach our children how to get paid, because I'm getting sick and tired of every black child in Florida thinking the only way to be a success in life is to go to college. And the only thing college is doing for St. Petersburg is impoverishing us even more. Broke-ass black people we got in here with bachelor degrees, master degrees, doctorate degrees. If you got student loans, raise your damn hand. Look at all the student loans in here. Look at this. This don't make no damn sense. So if you know that the black community is in loan debt, why are you sending your child through the same system of exploitation? White folks playing a game on you. You go to the job, fill it out. Yeah, I need a job. My brother just got my bachelor's. Stop. They say you underqualified, right? You say, damn, go get my master's. Go get the master's. Go back. I know I got my master's. Damn. Nah, you missing 2 credits in community salvation. What the? Community salvation? I'm gonna go get my doctorate. You gonna get your doctorate, go back. I got my bachelor's, my master's, my doctorate. Mr. White man, can I get the job? I'm sorry, sir, but it seems like you amassed more credits than the position would allow. So first you was underqualified, now you... How about they wasn't gonna hire your ass anyway? And they just played a game on you. And then some of you got your kids going to college majoring in garbage that don't even matter. She got an advanced doctorate from a Harvard University, summa cum laude, in earthworm reproduction during the springtime. She gonna be broke as hell. Stop letting your kids go off and major in subjects that have no economic relevance. White folks done conned you. You send your kids to college, they send theirs to real estate school. You send your kids to college, they send theirs to stock investment school. You send your kids to college, they send their kids to apprentice multinational corporations so they can learn the laws of money. They done played us, y'all, and we got it. I didn't say no black child should go to college. You need college if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, psychologist, engineer. But if you got a kid who don't want to be something that requires it, what the hell are they there for? Let me tell you what they did. In the 1980s, when they dropped the crack off, guess what else they did? They went into the high schools of St. Petersburg and Tampa, and they started taking out the industrial building trade program. See, up until 1980, you could graduate and be a licensed carpenter on graduation day. You could graduate, be a licensed electrician on graduation day. You could graduate and be a licensed plumber, auto mechanic, brick mason, on graduation day. They said, we can't have that. We got to come up with a way to disadvantage the black community economically. So they started taking all the trade programs out and telling you that college was the only option. I got to get ready to wrap it up, but before I do, can I talk to you about Willie Lynch for a minute? And just to let y'all know, brothers and sisters, just to let y'all know so I don't forget, because I got ADHD too. No, I do. But I was never diagnosed with nothing, and my parents never gave me no medicine, and I got 6 damn degrees, and if I can do it, why can't your son do it? You don't need no damn medicine. Somebody just texted me, what this? Okay, here we go. Tomorrow, I will be back at the Carter G. Woodson African American History Museum. We're going to have a community conversation. So all of the information I was not able to cover today, because we have to be out of the building in a certain amount of time, all you got to do is come back out tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Everybody got that? The Dr. Carter G. Woodson African American History Museum, 2240 9th Avenue. 2240 9th Avenue South, St. Petersburg, Florida. 2 o'clock tomorrow. Y'all got that? That is the Dr. Carter G. Woodson African American History Museum, 2240 9th Avenue South, Petersburg, Florida, 33712. And that's good, because that means I ain't got to squeeze everything in. I can save something for tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to be a conversation. Y'all can talk to me, I can talk to y'all, we can talk about the problems y'all got going on down here, because I need to learn about y'all in order to be of use. Do y'all got sellout Negroes down here? All right. So let me do my Willie Lynch and wrap it up for the sake of time. Willie Lynch was a slave master who came to the States to teach whites how to control their Negroes. He taught a lot in the Willie Lynch letter, but there's 3 things I want to direct your attention to. Now, some people talk about the fact that Willie Lynch did not actually exist, that the letter may have simply been metaphorical. Well, guess what? That may be true. And I don't have a problem with metaphor, because the Bible and the Quran is based on metaphor, but they still communicate profound truth. In fact, as African people, our whole culture is based on creating a story to teach the truth. So I don't have a problem with whether Willie Lynch lived or not. But the first thing Willie Lynch told the slave masters is that if you want to control your blacks, you're going to have to do what? Eliminate them from using their own native tongue and make sure they speak your language. He said you will never be able to control the blacks if they speak their own language, because the language is the most powerful symbol of a culture. Kill the African tongue and force the English upon them. But the slave masters did not listen. They forbid you to learn their language. In fact, if they caught you trying to learn, you get your fingers cut off, your hands chopped off, whipped, beat, or even murdered. They didn't listen to Willie Lynch. And as a result of not listening to Willie Lynch, your African tongue has preserved itself in St. Petersburg to this day. Which is to say that nobody in this auditorium speaks English. Every last one of you speaks a dialect of Niger-Congo language. The only thing you use from your oppressor is his vocabulary. Now some of you are like, well, wait a minute, Doc, that's a bit too far. Ebonics, I've never been to Africa. What the hell are you talking about? Well, let me break it down. Let me give you 3 differences between white language and African language so you will know that you are an African language speaker. The first difference between white language and West African language is that in white language, many of the words end with and emphasize a consonant. So white folks will say, we are getting ready to go have supper with Bob Thompson tonight. That's white folks. A lot of breath, a lot of consonants. African language, many of our words end in vowels. And because they end in vowels, it is easy for one word to connect to the other without you having to take a break, pause between them. So when black people talk, it seems like all of our words are meshing together because our languages are very rhythmic. So when we are talking, we don't say we're going to have a supper with Bob Thompson. Instead, you say, in St. Petersburg, I'm fixing to get sardines. Damn, Bob! I'm gonna get 3 wings on it. Put some respect on it and 3 kisses. So you see, the reason our children talk like that because African culture is rhythmic and so is our tongue. Now let me give you another difference between white folk language and black folk language. When white people talk, they emphasize the understanding of the communicated message. So when white people talk, when they're done, they'll say, did you understand what I just said? Did you hear me clearly? Did what I communicate to you make sense? Right? Black folks, we respect the communicated message. But our culture ain't about the communicated message. Our culture is about the intent behind the message. So when black people talk to black people, we don't say, did you understand what I said? We say, did you feel me? Because I don't give a damn about what I said. Because if you don't feel me, I might pop a gap in your ass the next time you do. Did you feel me? See, we all about feel. Because we are spiritual people. So you might say, listen, I heard you say my shoes were nice, but I felt that your ass was being sarcastic. Brother might say, that's a beautiful sister with you tonight. My brother, is that your queen? Yes, it is. She is gorgeous. Do you feel me? Oh no, I know what you said, but I feel your thirsty ass looking at my queen. Do you understand me? I'm gonna give you one more difference before I wrap it up. White people believe that it's disrespectful for more than one person to talk at a time. You do not interrupt Miss Slurbanowski until she's done talking. But black folks, because we are a collectivist people, a participatory people, a community people, it is perfectly okay for a black person to jump in the middle of my message and pick up where I left the hell off. So for example, if I'm coming home from work and I had a hard day and I'm at the bus stop and I ran into another brother, I don't even know the brother, but he could feel something ain't right. He say, Doc, what's going on? I'm gonna say, man, I was at work today. And these damn, he say, hold it, brother. Them damn crackers got me. In conclusion, St. Petersburg, let me say this. When we're done with the program today, I will meet you guys outside because we will have to relieve the building. And I will sign your books. In the lobby, you can get a copy of my book, Psychoacademic Holocaust, The Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys. I recommend you buy it, not because it's mine. I'm not selling my book. I'm selling the information that I know you need in order to protect your child. If you read my book cover to cover, it will teach you how to fight almost every issue you face in the school system. There's a whole chapter on how to change behavior without drugs. There's a whole chapter on frequently asked questions. And if that's over till you understand every aspect of the process and how you can use it to your benefit. And if that's not enough,
I love it, baby. Escaping the trap, St. Pete, Florida. Come back, see us again. Dr. Umar, you know what I'm saying? Salute to you. You know what I'm saying? You're empowering everybody, educating us on the education system. It was a beautiful thing, man. We all came out. It was a nice message. It was a nice message, and I'm gonna keep supporting it. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. Because you're helping the community, you're empowering us, and you're giving us a good message and inspiring us to do the right thing. I appreciate it. Peace.
I thought it was very enlightening, very, very enlightening. I feel like a lot of people need to come out to more events like this so you can understand what's going on in the community and be able to help out and maybe change some of the situations going on. But I loved it. It was very nice. Umar did a nice job. It was a comedian. Everybody did a nice job.